And honestly, if monk mode is teaching you something, that it is to how to be appreciative regarding to nothing. How to appreciate when you have literally freaking nothing going on in your life. When you don't have social life, social media, so on and so forth. So basically you're ground zero and you still somehow appreciate your life. And so that's what monk mode is all about, at least due to my experience. And so in this video I do not want to talk about this topic, but even more so the actual application, what the state eventually led me to realize, which is how to focus. Because what I've got to realize is that throughout my journey, the hardest part wasn't to eventually go ahead and like do the hard work or yeah, that's not easy either. It's like that's not easy either. But eventually, the hardest part, quote unquote hardest part, was to go ahead and just stick with that thing, because things are getting super boring. At least for me, like I'm the kind of a person who is like, hey man, like I'm just getting super excited about something, and I'm just getting super excited about another thing, and then another week, and I'm starting a new business, and I have a tendency to start a new business, I have a tendency to start a new book, I have a tendency to start something new before I'm finishing the actual mission that I'm on currently. And so this can create a loophole where we are just starting new thing after new thing after new thing after new thing. We are not finishing anything and we are just rumbling around in life. And so what I wanted to talk about here is the actual cure for this thing, which is eventually had brought to me by monk mode. So how does it work? When I started this video with when you can eventually get to this place where you appreciate your life regardless if you have literally quote unquote nothing which society claims that you have, but that you need to have, like nice car, nice house, money, good job, girlfriend, all the good stuff, and you don't have any of that and you still can appreciate your life, then eventually you are at a place where you are not doing the things because of this outside of push, this outside of motivation, which is perhaps the blame that you the shame that you might be feeling for not achieving such things, but more like an inner motivation regarding to stickingness to the journey, something like this. Let me expand. So I've got to realize this when I wasn't so mindful about these daily exercise, and even more so regarding to the actual educational material, or not necessarily educational material, but the overall information flow that I was consuming, meaning that YouTube, books, so on and so forth. I tried to be always conscious about that and mindful, but not necessarily focused. Okay, so meaning, what does that mean? So I clearly remember about 2.5 years ago, I was following, like I was reading in under 2 months. I was reading in like 5 topics. I was watching videos in like 10 other topics. And I mean, like, not from one YouTuber, and I was like broadly, learning about life and learning about stuff, which is again a very, 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 very pleasant state to be at. But that is the explorative state, and what we need here, if you really want to get results, quote unquote results, again, this is another labeling, is to eventually go ahead and double down with one thing. And so how that can happen is that we basically cut off everything else. So this is how this whole thing happens. And so what is the biggest trigger that you have to pull on this is not necessarily the desire. So you will be eliminating your desires to do other things by eventually not even looking at those other things. So for example, if you are living with your girlfriend, okay, suppose, and you're going out every week, 2 or 3 times a week, you're partying, and your solely purpose for going out is to eventually pick up girls. Or not necessarily to pick up girls, but just to have fun or whatever that might be. So what do you think, like, will you have, so this desire for you to find other girls next to your current one will increase or will decrease? Yes. And so with the same idea, with the same dynamics, when you are seeing that all these other shiny objects, all these other opportunities all the time, then yes, that will look super exciting for you. Because why? Because you're seeing, for example, let's talk about making money, okay? And I was in this rut for a long time before I've been able to escape from this thing. So I'm seeing this YouTuber making, 5 mil a month. I'm seeing this other YouTubers making, 100K a month. And everyone is promoting their businesses. And by the way, this is what YouTube is all about mostly. For most of the times, YouTube is just pretty much a lead generation platform for everyone. You're educating people. People see the authority figure in you, and not only that, but you can't just pretty much sell shit on YouTube. Like pre-sell shit. This is like YouTube is lead generation in this regard for like businesses. If you're using like and I mean, since we are living with money, I would suggest that most of the channels that you are following at this very moment are monetizing that attention that they are able to get on the back end. And pretty much everyone is doing that. Who is not doing that is a damn fool. Maybe. But let us discuss this topic on the other day. So regarding to this, when you're seeing another YouTuber, like everyone's trying to sell their shit, but they're not necessarily selling upfront the actual thing that you have to go through. Because this is the thing, whatever business you are starting, whatever the thing that you are jumping in order for you to be good, in order for you to be great, you have to put in the freaking hours. And every single business will consist from different basic skills. So for example, if you're doing dropshipping, you have to learn how to create video, how to run Facebook ads, how to analyze it, how to research product, how to raise capital to eventually run the ads, how to make decisions, how to not to be emotional. Those are personal traits, and so on and so forth. If you're running a marketing agency, the same thing. You have to learn how to sell. You have to relearn lead generation. You have to learn either how to cold call, how to outreach. You have to learn how to sell. You have to learn how to build sales process. You have to learn how to hire eventually. You have to learn how to the automatization part is completely different with the agency stuff. And the point over here is that you're just simply seeing a new guy who is eventually promoting this thing, but and you're just jumping. But you don't understand that the whole thing will come eventually 2-3 years of work. Yes, you can be there. Of course you can be there. But it will come with 2-3 years of hard fucking work. Only on that thing. You want to become a great runner? Yes. Very freaking good. You have to run 6 times a week. Do you like that? Fuck no, man. Fuck no. Like, hey man, like, how can you run so much so easily, like all the time? I said, I've been doing this shit for more than 1.5 years, man. Like maybe 2 years. Like every single day I was grinding with this shit. The same thing with the same thing with cold calling with me now. It's like, how you are able to set up appointments like so easily, so flawless. It's like, I've been doing this for a long fucking time, man. Like I made a lot of calls, I guess, about. And so if I'm not counting all the calls that did connect, then I would say that I've made at least between 5 and 10,000 somewhere cold calls. And now I'm good with that. Now I'm good at that then. But actually, getting back to the main point over here is that if the only place for me to eventually get there is if I'm able to focus. If I'm able to focus on something. And the only place for us to eventually get there, to get to this focused state, the easiest part is to eliminate the new desires. And the easiest part is for eliminating these new desires, these new potential desires, is eventually not to look at them. So, how to stick with your current girlfriend and not get distracted with another one? Super easy. Like, don't try and chase other ones. Like, block. Like, hey, like we are together. I'm deleting Tinder. I'm not going out to try to find girls and so on and so forth. Like, this is it. The same thing with business. It's like, hey, I got my business. I'm only consuming media in that domain. It's like I'm not getting distracted with other stuff. And so you're just purposefully going out there and watching those things. This is why courses are good, I think, due to my opinion. And by the way, don't freaking buy those courses, because if you don't have the money, don't freaking buy the courses. what you're supposed to be spending your money on is seminars and one-on-ones, not courses, brothers. Like, don't pay thousands of dollars on courses. Just like download them from like, you know, buy VPN and like torrent them. It's like, man, like don't lose, like don't waste your money. And so over here, what we're supposed to be looking at is to just simply double down on one thing and stick with that one thing. Stick with that one thing up to the point that it starts to gain to the point where you do not necessarily want to drop that thing, because you see that, hey, like this thing works, like I'm making good money, I'm you know, like I'm getting good traction with this thing, and now I don't want to drop this. But up to the point that you get that traction, it takes months, even maybe years, and perhaps years. And so the one lesson, the only one thing that I wanted to share and emphasize over here is the overarching benefit of eventually limiting our information intake towards one direction, and towards only the direction that we are looking at. Like, cut out everything else. That's the best thing that I could do. Love.